After the attack on the Prime Minister of Slovakia, politicians in Europe correctly admit that one must weigh words when practicing politics. Does this also concern politicians of the Polish ruling party? The Civic Platform's new advertising spot entitled "Russia's Greatest Success in Poland is Law and Justice" may be even more surprising. Besides, the Civic Platform has been trying to convince Poles for some time that Law and Justice is pro-Russian. Isn't yesterday's attack a sufficient warning of what hate speech can lead to? Especially since we already had a political murder in Poland. In 2010, Ryszard Tsiba, Civic Platform activist, murdered Marek Rosiak, a Law and Justice activist. The killer did not hide the fact that he wanted to kill Law and Justice President Jarosław Kaczynski. Several hours after the attack on the Prime Minister of Slovakia, Platforma released another episode of its show of hatred towards law and justice. Russia is already here. Its greatest success is peace. Cases indicating the growing influence of the Belarusian and Russian services have been swept under the carpet. They blocked investments intended to arm the Polish army.
Blokowali inwestycje mające dozbroić polską armię.
The spot is intended to be an announcement of the government commission that will investigate Russian influence in Poland. It is already clear that the aim will be to tell Poles the lie that Jarosław Kaczynski's party is a Russian agent. The acronym United Right Party can be read exactly the same way: paid traitors, Russian henchmen. The Lapun is criticized by both right and left. Several hours after the attack, which was inspired by Slovak hatred, adding fuel to the fire and exaggerating emotions in the Polish war between the two largest parties does not serve any good. This is not the way. In my opinion, this is a huge mistake, unnecessary. The Civic Platform and Civic Coalition have long crossed the borders. This is simply distasteful. I said it. The easiest thing is to divide, and in fact Prime Minister Donald Tusk and his team are, firstly, trying to short-circuit, and secondly, dividing Poles. Politicians of the ruling Civic Platform were delighted with their party's spot. Now, the head of the Ministry of Interior and Administration, subordinate to Tusk, refused to grant the former Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki Secret Service protection, despite the threats that this politician experienced. For comparison, during last year's election campaign, the Law and Justice government did grant this service to Donald Tusk, who, as head of his party, was running for parliament. This shows what the pro-state approach is. We, as those with little sympathy for Donald Tusk, believe that the former Prime Minister, as one exposed to certain risk, was entitled to protection if he applied for it. In a petty way, they refused to protect the former Prime Minister right after he ceased to be Prime Minister. The current spread of hatred against law and justice may have other reasons. One can risk the thesis that this is some form of preparing public opinion to take action to ban law and justice if it is a traitorous party that works for Russia. This is the message that is built in there. My hands drop. Well, this is the logic of the political fight that Civic Platform has adopted. Because it is difficult to expect that the government commission that is supposed to investigate Russian influence will start investigating Russia's influence on the head of government. And there are many doubts and questions. We want dialogue with Russia as it is. The lack of dialogue is not good for either Poland or Russia. It spoils the interests and reputations of both countries in the international arena. We want dialogue with Russia. The lack of dialogue serves neither Russia nor Poland. All the signs in the sky and on earth indicate that my talks in Moscow were the beginning, not the end, of a revival of Polish-Russian relations. Hence the response of Law and Justice to the hateful and false spot of Platform. And these words, paid traitors, Russian henchmen, you can point to your government, for example, to Radosław Sikorski, who caused an international scandal with his entry. It was you who wanted to sell Lotos to the Russians. There is no ideological reason to say no to investors from other countries, including Russia. It was you who wanted warmer relations with Imperial Russia. Your people were Putin and Lukashenko's puppets during the crisis on the border with Belarus. It is hard to believe Civic Platform's accusations against Law and Justice, which is supposed to serve the Eastern regimes, especially after Lukashenko's words of praise of the Civic Platform and Tusk after the autumn election. I congratulate the Polish nation. They deserve great applause. Thanks to them, Poland will be different. The previous authorities did not want to talk to us, but now that will change. Poles showed what they want. Law and Justice MPs say directly, The civic platform Spot is not only about spreading hatred, but also making Poles look like idiots.
Też jest kpiną z ludzkiej pamięci.
It is a mockery of human memory. People who were responsible for the reset with Russia, people who hugged Putin and met Lavrov, accuse Law and Justice, a party that has always been skeptical about close relations with Russia, of being pro-Russian, which is hypocrisy, a lie. There is no other way to describe it. This is preying on the fact that human memory is short.
Inaczej się nie da tego opisać. To jest takie żerowanie na tym, że pamięć ludzka bywa krótka.
It is not short, and in the age of the internet, it is difficult to deceive the public.